"Captain, the last medical team is now aboard. We can leave when you give the order," said Commander Yun Kim, who worked directly under him. June gave a short nod. "The Novalians have less than 6 months before their star explodes. We must not waste time." The rescue fleet had 12 ships, the biggest helping mission Earth had ever sent out. They would travel to the Novalian home planet and save as many people as possible before their sun died. "Are we making the right choice?" Yun asked in a soft voice. "Some leaders said we should fix Earth's problems first." "When we got the Novalian message, they weren't asking if we had extra supplies," June said. "They were asking if humans cared enough to help others. I think we do." The Earth ships didn't know they were being watched. Hidden in the shadow of the moon, a cloaked ship sat silent. Inside, Commander Tak of the Drekthar Sovereignty observed with cold eyes. His people had been watching both Earth and Novalia for many years. This unexpected friendship between the two worlds threatened the Drekthar's plans to rule this part of space. "The humans are going beyond where they should." Tak sent a message to his leaders. "We must stop them before they become known as space helpers." The answer came quickly. "Stop them and kill everyone." On the horizon, June walked through the ship's halls. Doctors and rescue workers moved equipment and set up medical areas. The ship hummed with activity as people prepared for the long journey ahead. June entered the main medical bay where Dr. Yuna Lee organized her staff. Beds lined the walls and machines waited to help the Novalians when they were rescued. "Captain." "Park," Yuna greeted him with a tired smile. "My team is setting up the emergency care units. We should be ready for patients within a day of reaching Novalia." "Good work," June said. "What about the cultural training? Our people need to understand Novalian customs to help them effectively." "Already in progress. The first session begins in 2 hours in the main hall." June continued his tour, stopping at the ship's engine room. Chief Engineer Huan Cho stood before a glowing control panel, his fingers moving quickly over the display. "Captain, the new drive systems are working perfectly," Huan reported. "We've increased efficiency by 20%. This should cut our travel time significantly. That could mean thousands more lives saved," June noted. "Well done." Later, June sat in his private quarters reviewing the mission plans. A soft knock came at his door, and Food Services Officer Min Park entered with a tray. "You missed dinner." "Again, Captain," Min said, placing the tray on June's desk. "The crew is talking about how you never seem to eat or sleep," June smiled. "Tell them their captain is simply thorough." "The crew believes in this mission," Min said. "Many volunteered because they lost family in the great floods last decade. They know what it means to need help." After Min left, June stood before his window, looking out at the Earth below. Blue oceans and swirling white clouds painted the planet he called home. Humanity had nearly destroyed itself many times, through wars, climate disasters, and resource conflicts. Only in the last century had they found a fragile peace and begun to heal their world. Some argued that helping aliens wasted resources, better used on Earth. But Jun believed this mission represented the best of humanity, the desire to extend a hand to others in need. On the ship's bridge, Commander Yoon worked with Navigation Officer Q Song to plot their course to Novalia. "The path takes us near the Vega Nebula," Q said. "It's beautiful but dangerous. Solar winds could affect our shields." "Plot a safer route even if it takes longer," Yoon instructed. "This fleet carries too precious a cargo to take unnecessary risks." As night fell across the ship, most crew members retired to their quarters. In the observation lounge, communications specialist Jin-Oh sat alone, watching Earth grow smaller as they moved toward the jump point. Jin had volunteered after seeing images of Novalian children. They looked different from humans, with blue-tinted skin and large eyes, but their fear was familiar. Jin had been a refugee once, fleeing coastal flooding. She knew what it meant to lose a home. The next morning, all crew gathered in the main hall. Captain Jones stood before them, his face serious but hopeful. "Today we begin humanity's most ambitious humanitarian mission," he said. "The Novalians are different from us in many ways, but they share our wish to live, to see their children grow, to have a future. We carry with us not just supplies and medicine, but Earth's message to the stars, that we help those in need, whoever and wherever they may be." Cheers filled the hall as the crew's voices rose in unified purpose. Far behind them, Commander Tak's ship followed at a distance. In the cold darkness of his command center, he studied the human fleet's formation. "Such predictable creatures," he said to his second-in-command. "They arrange their ships to protect the medical vessels. Their compassion makes them weak." "When do we strike?" asked the officer. "We will wait until they are far from Earth," Taki replied. "When they reach the outer Novalian system, they will be too distant for help to arrive. Then we will show these humans the cost of interfering with Drek-Thar plans." As the Earth fleet accelerated toward their jump point, both sides remained unaware that this mission would change the fate of 3 civilizations forever. Remember to use simple and basic English for this creative writing task, and to write in third-person style without headings as requested. 3 months passed as the Earth fleet journeyed through space. Captain June Park sat in his command chair on the bridge of the horizon, studying reports from the other 11 ships. The crew had settled into their routines. Many spent their free time learning about Novalian culture and preparing for the rescue mission. "Captain, we're entering the outer edge of the Novalian system," said Navigator Q Song. "We should see their sun within 2 days." June nodded. "Send word to all ships. Begin final preparations for the evacuation procedures." The mood on the ship was hopeful. In just 1 week they would reach Novalia and start saving lives. Dr. Yuna had her medical teams running drills every 6 hours. The transport specialists practiced loading and securing simulated refugees. Everything was going according to plan. Lieutenant Day Lee sat at the sensor station, monitoring the space around them. He adjusted some settings when something unusual caught his eye. "Captain Park," Day called out, his voice tight. "I'm seeing strange energy readings at coordinates 227 Mark IV. June walked over to look at the screen. "Could it be solar flares from the Novalian star?" "No, sir. The pattern is too regular. I've never seen anything like this before." "Commander?" Hyun joined them at the station. "Maybe we should send a probe to—" Yun never finished her sentence. The space around the Earth fleet suddenly twisted and ripped open. 30 warships appeared where empty space had been seconds before. Their hulls were dark gray with glowing red lines running along their sides. "Red alert!" June shouted. "All ships' defensive positions." Alarm bells rang throughout the horizon. Crew members raced to their emergency stations, but it was too late for preparations. The enemy ships fired immediately. Bright beams of energy shot across space. The medical ship Mercy took a direct hit to its core. For a brief moment, the Mercy glowed from within, then exploded in a blinding flash. 300 doctors and nurses died instantly. The horizon shook violently as enemy weapons hit its shields. June grabbed his chair to stay upright. "Who are they?" he demanded. "Scanning their ships now," Day reported. "The design matches intelligence reports of Drek-Thar vessels." Another blast hit the horizon, stronger than the first. People fell to the floor. Sparks flew from damaged equipment. "Shields at 60%, called the defense officer. Commander Yoon struggled back to her station. "They're targeting our engines," she shouted over the noise of alarms. "We've lost communications with the fleet." On the main screen, June watched helplessly as the Drek-Thar ships surrounded the Earth fleet. The rescue ship Hope tried to turn away but took 3 direct hits. It drifted powerless as the Drek-Thar continued firing until it broke apart. Medical Officer Subin Kang stumbled onto the bridge, her uniform stained with blood. "Captain, we have hundreds of wounded. The civilian quarters were hit directly. We're setting up emergency care in the cargo bays." The massive Starship Horizon hung in Earth's orbit. Its hull shone under the distant sun as teams finished the final work. Captain June Park stood watching through the large windows. He saw the last supply shuttle connect to his ship. As leader of Earth's rescue fleet, he felt the heavy duty of this mission. June looked around at his bridge crew. The enemy outnumbered them nearly 3-1. Their ships were built for war, while the Earth fleet carried mostly medical equipment and supplies. Fighting back would only delay the inevitable. "How many ships still have working faster than light drives?" June asked. Yoon checked the readings. 7, including us. The others are either destroyed or too damaged to jump. June closed his eyes for a brief moment. The decision hurt more than any physical wound. "All ships with functioning FTL drives, prepare for emergency jump. We cannot win this battle. Captain, we can't leave the others behind, protested Q. If we stay, we all die, June said firmly. Someone must survive to warn Earth. At the communications station, Officer Min Choi worked frantically, her fingers moving quickly over the controls. Captain, I've managed to establish a tight beam connection to Earth. It's weak but stable. Send everything, June ordered. Sensor data, ship identification, attack patterns. Earth needs to know what happened here. As Min transmitted the data, the bridge crew watched the battle unfold. The Drekthar ships moved with precise coordination, methodically destroying one Earth vessel after another. They targeted medical bays and escape pods with the same cold efficiency as they attacked engines and shield generators. Jump coordinates set, announced Navigator Q, his voice shaking. The other 6 ships are synchronized with our jump timer. June opened a channel to the remaining fleet. This is Captain Park. We jump in 30 seconds. May those we leave behind forgive us. The horizon trembled as another blast hit its weakening shields. The lights flickered. Emergency power kicked in, casting the bridge in dim red light. Jump. In 10 seconds, Q counted down. 9, 8. On the screen, the supply ship Goodwill exploded, its debris hitting the nearby helping hand. 3, 2, 1. Jump. The stars stretched into lines as the horizon and 6 other ships leapt into faster-than-light travel. Behind them, the remaining 5 vessels continued fighting a hopeless battle. In his captain's chair, June stared at the casualty reports appearing on his screen. Over 2,000 humanitarian workers had died in less than 15 minutes. Doctors, nurses, engineers, and evacuation specialists, all gone. Set course for Earth, he said quietly. Maximum speed. In the silence that followed, the surviving crew of the Horizon faced a terrible truth. They had set out to save an alien species, but now they returned as the only survivors of a massacre. And somewhere far behind them, the Novalians still waited, unaware that their rescuers had been destroyed. On the Drekthar command ship, Commander Tak watched with satisfaction as his fleet finished destroying the remaining Earth vessels. Send word to High Command, he ordered. The human threat has been eliminated. His second-in-command looked troubled, but some ships escaped. Tak smiled coldly. Let them run home. Let them tell Earth what happens when they interfere in matters beyond their understanding. By the time they mount a response, if they even dare, we will have dealt with the Novalians as well. The 7 damaged ships of Earth's rescue fleet limped back home. They moved slowly through space, their hulls scarred by weapons fire. Inside the ships, the survivors treated their wounded and mourned their dead. On the 6th day of their return journey, Earth came into view. The blue planet looked peaceful from space, unaware of the tragedy that had occurred. Captain June Park stood on the bridge of the horizon, his uniform still stained with blood. He had not slept more than 2 hours at a time since the attack. Every time he closed his eyes, he saw the Mercy exploding, heard the screams cut short as ships broke apart. Earth Control is hailing us, said Communications Officer Min Choi. Her voice was flat from exhaustion. They want to know why we've returned. Put them through, June said. When the news of the attack reached Earth, shock spread quickly. In homes and offices, people gathered around screens to watch the sensor recordings from the battle. They saw their ships, filled with doctors and aid workers, blasted apart by the unknown enemy. 3 days later, the Great Assembly Hall in New Geneva was filled with representatives from every nation on Earth. The room, normally buzzing with conversation, was completely silent. 5,000 people sat still as stone as they watched the final moments of the destroyed fleet. Admiral Han Tai stood before them, his old face lined with grief and anger. His grey hair was neatly combed, but his eyes looked tired. On the huge screen behind him, the medical ship Mercy exploded again and again as the recording played on a loop. When the images finally stopped, Admiral Han spoke. The attack was unprovoked. The enemy deliberately targeted our medical vessels first. We have identified them as the Drekthar Sovereignty, a species we had never met before this. In the front row, Captain June Park sat with his head bowed. Next to him, the other surviving captains stared straight ahead, their faces empty of emotion. Counselor Ji-Hoo Lee stood up from his seat. He was a small man with a calm voice, but today his words rang out strongly. This wasn't just an attack on our ships. This was an attack on the very ideas that make us human, our desire to help others, to save lives rather than take them. Around the room people nodded. Some wiped away tears. The Drekthar made a big mistake, Admiral Han continued. They thought that because our ships were on a helping mission, we would not fight back. They have confused our kindness for weakness. The room grew even quieter. The representatives leaned forward in their seats. President Bin Song rose from her chair at the center of the council table. She was a tall woman, with silver hair pulled back from her face. "What do you suggest we do, Admiral?" Admiral Han did not hesitate. "Start Protocol Thermopylae. Change our factories to make warships instead of trading vessels. Call back all our ships from deep space, and put Admiral Taewon Ryu in charge of our response." The vote took less than 5 minutes. Every hand in the room went up in agreement. Earth would go to war. By sunset, the news had spread across the planet. In space stations and lunar colonies, on ships and in distant outposts, humans learned of the attack and the decision to fight back. The next morning, factories that had made farming equipment began producing armor plating. Shipyards changed their plans overnight, scrapping half-built exploration vessels to make way for warships. Scientists who had worked on growing better crops now turned their minds to weapons and shields. Admiral Taewon Ryu set up his command center deep beneath the Pacific Ocean. The base had been built during the last World War, then transformed into a research station during the years of peace. Now it became the heart of Earth's military planning. Taewon was not what most people expected in a war leader. He was a short, quiet man who spoke softly and smiled often, but his mind was razor-sharp, and he understood war in ways that scared even other military leaders. "The Drekthar expect us to be angry," he told his team on their first day. "They think we will rush into battle, blinded by grief and rage. That is what they are preparing for. So we will do something different." Captain Jun Park was invited to join Taewon's planning team. When he arrived at the underwater base, he found a hub of activity. The best military minds from Earth and its colonies had gathered to work as one. "Captain Park," Taewon greeted him warmly. "Your experience with the enemy is valuable to us. Tell me, what did you notice about how they fought?" Jun thought back to the terrible battle. They were very organized. Each ship knew exactly what to do. They didn't waste time or shots. Taewon nodded. "Professional soldiers, not driven by emotion or hate, just following orders. They targeted our weakest points first," Jun added. "The medical ships, then engines and communications. They knew exactly where to hit us." "So they had studied human ship design," Taewon said. "They have been watching us for some time. In the weeks that followed, Earth changed. People who had never thought about war now worked day and night to prepare for it. Children collected scrap metal for recycling into ship parts. Universities turned their research labs into weapons development centers. And all across Earth, young people lined up to join the fight. Many had lost friends or family members in the attack. Others were moved by the plight of the Novalians, now left without hope of rescue. In his private office, Taewon spent long hours studying everything known about the Drekthar. He analyzed their attack patterns, their ship designs, their weapons. "We won't just strike back," he told the Earth Council a month after the attack. "We will show them that humanity is not to be underestimated. They think they know us, based on our mercy. Now they will learn about our justice." 100 days. After the attack, the first of Earth's new warships left the orbital shipyards. Unlike the bright white rescue vessels, these ships were dark gray with minimal markings. They carried weapons more powerful than anything humans had built before. And deep under the Pacific, Admiral Taewon smiled as he watched the fleet grow. The Drekthar had awakened something they could not have expected. Humanity united with a single purpose. 9 months passed without Earth sending a single message toward Drekthar space. The planet worked in complete silence, preparing its answer to the attack on its rescue fleet. In orbit around Mars, massive shipyards stretched for miles. Workers in spacesuits moved across the hulls of new vessels. These were not the bright, white ships of peaceful missions. These were weapons of war. Captain June Park floated near a viewing window on the station overlooking the shipyard. His face had grown thinner in the month since the attack. The dreams still came at night. The exploding ships, the screams cut short the faces of those he couldn't save. A door opened behind him. Admiral Tae-won entered the room, moving with the easy grace of someone used to zero gravity. "Captain Park," the Admiral said, "I thought I might find you here." Together they looked out at Earth's new fleet. 200 warships filled the space. Around Mars, their dark hulls absorbed light rather than reflecting it. Sharp angles replaced the smooth curves of older Earth vessels. No bright colors or symbols of peace marked these ships. "They look nothing like our old vessels," June said. Quietly, Tae-won nodded. "The Drekthar think they know us now. They expect us to do nothing or to attack with anger and no plan. They will get neither." The largest ship hung at the center of the fleet. Its name was painted in small letters on the hull. Retribution, Lieutenant. Daly approached them carrying a data tablet. Day had survived the attack and now led the tactical team for the mission. His left arm was a replacement, the original lost when his station exploded during the battle. "Admiral," Day said, "our spy drones have finished mapping the Drekthar military bases across their 17 colony worlds. We found 93 main targets." Tae-won took the tablet and studied the information. "And what about their civilian areas?" "As you ordered, sir. We've created weapons that can hit very precise targets. We can destroy their war machines without killing their people." Tae-won handed back the tablet. "Good. We fight against their ability to make war, not against their people." 3 days later, Earth's fleet left the solar system. Unlike the direct route taken by the rescue mission, these ships followed a complex path. They hid in the gravity shadows of black holes, masked their engines in the radiation from pulsars, and traveled through clouds of space dust that blocked sensors. On the bridge of the Retribution, the crew worked in focused silence. Many had lost friends or family in the attack, but Admiral Tae-won had selected people who could control their anger, who would follow the plan rather than seek blind revenge. Captain June served as second in command of the fleet. His knowledge of the enemy, gained during those terrible minutes, of the ambush, proved valuable in planning the mission. "The Drekthar believe they crushed our spirit," Tae-won told his officers during the journey. "They think we either fear them too much to respond, or that we will attack wildly, driven by emotion." Both ideas show they do not understand humans at all. 4 months into their journey, the fleet reached the edge of Drekthar space. The ships spread out, running silent, their sensors extended to maximum range. Commander Yoon Kim, now head of intelligence operations, called Admiral Tae-won to the sensor room. Her face looked troubled as she showed him the readings. "Sir, we've detected Drekthar ships attacking the Velari system," she said. "On the screen, a small fleet of enemy vessels surrounded a planet with rings, and we've found evidence they've attacked 2 other peaceful species since they hit our rescue fleet." Tae-won's face hardened. "They're removing any species that might help us, clearing the playing field before they turn their full attention to Earth." He studied the attack pattern. It matched exactly what they had done to Earth's fleet. Targeting. Medical and civilian ships first, then communications, then engines. "Their strategy is always the same," he observed. "They assume others think as they do." Back on the bridge, Tae-won called for Communications Officer Min Choi. Min had been on the horizon during the ambush. She had transmitted the warning back to Earth, saving countless lives by ensuring humanity knew what had happened. "Officer Min, I want to send one message to the Drekthar High Command," Tae-won said. "Text only, no voice, no video." Min prepared the system. "Ready, Admiral." Tae-won's message was short. "You mistook our kindness for weakness. This error will not be repeated." After the message was sent, the fleet continued its silent approach. They watched as the Drekthar ships finished their attack on the Velari, then left the system. The enemy clearly had no idea Earth forces were nearby. On the Retribution, Engineer Hwan Cho presented Admiral Tae-won with the final version of their special weapons. "The precision strikers can hit a target the size of a small car from orbit," Hwan explained. "We can take out command centers without damaging living areas nearby." Dr. Yuna Lee, who had joined the mission to provide medical support, looked at the weapons with mixed feelings. It seems strange that we're using our medical scanning technology to target weapons, she said. The same knowledge that lets us save lives also lets us take only the lives we must, Taiwan replied. That is the difference between us and the Drekthar. We could destroy their worlds, but we choose precision instead. As the fleet moved deeper into enemy territory, they passed the ruins of alien civilizations. The Drekthar had been busy while Earth prepared. 3 separate species had been attacked, their defenses crushed, their people left desperate and dying. June watched the sensor readings with a heavy heart. We were too late for them. Taiwan shook his head. No, we are right on time to ensure this never happens again. The fleet approached the first Drekthar military base. The enemy still had not detected them. Hidden in the shadow of a small moon, Admiral Taiwan gave the order all of Earth had waited 9 months to hear. All ships, prepare for combat operations. Phase 1 begins in 30 minutes. The main Drekthar defense station floated above there. Military capital world. Inside, officers monitored space around their planet. The screens showed only normal traffic, supply ships, patrol vessels, and passenger transports. Status report, demanded Base Commander Lorek. All systems normal, replied his second-in-command. No unusual activity in the sector. Suddenly, alarms blared throughout the station. The main screen flashed red warnings. Multiple ships appearing. From nowhere, shouted a sensor operator. They're right on top of us. Commander Lorek stared in shock as hundreds of dark vessels appeared around his station. The alarm had barely started when the first strikes hit, but the real damage had already been done from within. 3 days earlier, special teams from Earth had secretly landed on the planet. Commander Subin Kang had led 20 soldiers into the heart of the Drekthar defense systems. Disguised using technology that mimicked Drekthar appearance, they had placed tiny devices in key locations. Now, as the Earth fleet appeared, Subin activated these devices. Across the Drekthar world, defense shields shut down, weapon systems went offline, communication networks failed. On the bridge of the Retribution, Admiral Taiwan watched calmly as the first phase of the attack succeeded perfectly. Begin precision strikes, he ordered. Military targets only. Earth ships fired their special weapons. Unlike the wild destruction caused by the Drekthar in their attacks, these strikes hit with incredible accuracy. A missile would fly between civilian buildings without touching them, then destroy a military command center. Weapon factories exploded while nearby homes remained untouched. Captain June Park commanded a group of 30 ships targeting the Drekthar shipyards. He watched as the enemy tried desperately to mount a defense, but with their communications down and shields offline, they could do little. This is for the mercy, June said quietly, as his ships methodically destroyed the facilities that had built the vessels that had attacked Earth's rescue fleet. The same pattern repeated across all 17 Drekthar worlds. Earth forces struck with careful precision, destroying only military targets, bases, weapon factories, training centers, and warships. They left civilian areas completely untouched. By the end of the first day, half of the Drekthar military capability was gone. By the second day, their remaining ships had either surrendered or been destroyed. On the third day, Admiral Taiwan received a message request from the Drekthar leadership. He accepted it on the main screen of the Retribution. The face that appeared looked somewhat like a human, with grey skin and large black eyes. This was High Commander Vek, leader of the Drekthar sovereignty. Your species was supposed to be weak, Vek said angrily through the translator. You were helping others when you should have been helping yourselves. Taiwan looked at the alien leader calmly. That is where you made your biggest mistake. You did not understand humans at all. Our strength comes exactly from our desire to help others. You attacked ships full of doctors and aid workers. Did you really think we would not respond? We believed your focus on helping the weak showed your own weakness, Vek replied. And now you know different, said Taiwan. We offer mercy when we can, but we bring justice when we must. The attack continued for 2 weeks. Earth ships moved from world to world, dismantling the Drekthar war machine with mechanical precision. They destroyed military facilities, but left everything else standing. No civilian areas were hit. No populated cities were bombed. The Earth forces kept to their plan, removed the Drekthar ability to make war, but leave their people and culture intact. Commander Subin's teams gathered enormous amounts of information from Drekthar computers. They learned that the Sovereignty had planned to attack Earth directly once they finished eliminating potential allies in nearby systems. They feared us, Subin reported to Admiral Tae-won. They saw our technology growing rapidly and worried we would eventually challenge their control of this region of space. So they decided to stop us before we could become a threat, Tae-won said. Instead, they created exactly what they feared. By the end of 2 weeks, Operation Consequence was complete. The Drekthar military had been reduced to a handful of unarmed ships. Their weapon factories were gone. Their training bases were smoking ruins. Yet their cities stood untouched, their civilians unharmed. Admiral Tae-won called for a final meeting with the Drekthar leadership. This took place on a neutral space station at the edge of their territory. High Commander Vec and his council arrived in a simple transport vessel. "You have shown us a kind of warfare we did not expect," Vec admitted. "You could have destroyed our worlds, but you chose not to." "We are not like you," Tae-won replied. "We do not kill those who cannot fight back." Then Tae-won presented humanity's terms. The Drekthar would join a new alliance of species under human oversight. They would be allowed to rebuild, but their military would be limited and monitored. If they refused, Earth would remove all their remaining technology, sending them back to a pre-space travel existence. Faced with no other choice, the Drekthar agreed. 6 months later, a new fleet left Earth's orbit. At its center was the New Horizon, a ship built to replace the original rescue vessel. Captain Min Choi stood on its bridge, watching as final preparations were made for departure. The mission remained the same as before, to reach Novalia and evacuate as many people as possible before their sun exploded. But this time, the rescue ships traveled with a protective escort of Earth warships. Captain June Park, now commanding the defense vessel Vigilance, spoke with Min before they left. "Complete the mission we started," he told her. "Show the galaxy that despite everything that happened, humans still help those in need." Min nodded. "We will, and this time we'll reach them." As the fleet departed, Admiral Tae-won watched from Earth Control. The events of the past year had changed humanity's place in the galaxy forever. Other species now looked at Earth with new respect and, yes, some fear. But the Admiral knew the most important message had been delivered. Humanity's compassion was real and deep, but so was its resolve. Those who mistook one for the absence of the other would not make the same mistake twice. When the new rescue fleet finally reached Novalia, they found a world in desperate need. The alien people looked up at the Earth ships with hope in their large eyes. They had thought no one would come to save them, as their sun grew more unstable each day. The evacuation began immediately. Earth doctors, engineers, and aid workers helped load Novalian families onto transport ships. Above them, the defense vessels kept careful watch, their weapons ready but silent, and somewhere far away, the Drekthar were rebuilding their society, under watchful human eyes, learning a lesson they would never forget. The end.